Hey guys, it's Reba. This summer, I've been doing The Artist's Way, mainly for the morning pages, but in the process, I have found that I am also very much in need of some creative recovery. Each week, I have discovered and identified my own creative blocks and have made some powerful mindset shifts like accepting the beginner stage of being an artist, which means being bad at first, and having the audacity to take action and do it anyway. Some weeks are easier than others, but this past week turned out to be one of the most difficult. Julia Cameron really had me out here confronting some of my most sensitive blocks and asking myself, what am I waiting for? I'm now in week 6 of The Artist's Way, which means I'm halfway through. And this week's theme is recovering a sense of abundance. It's all about money as a creative block, as well as making sure you take time for little luxuries and self care. And I do have to say that I have found this chapter to be pretty difficult. This chapter really is challenging my ideas on money as well as practicality and sensibility when it comes to art and art making. I always thought I was pretty good at making time for a creative outlet or making creativity part of my life. But now that I've gotten this far through The Artist's Way, I can see that I have still some reservations around trying some things, and I still feel the pursuit of creativity is frivolous in some ways. I've mentioned this quote before, but I do like this quote from earlier in the book. No matter what your age or your life path, whether making art is your career or your hobby or your dream, it is not too late or too egotistical or too selfish or too silly to work on your creativity. And I think that's the energy that she's trying to bring to this chapter. I like to think that I'm not alone in this creative block. I think this is a struggle for a lot of people, especially people who aren't in a situation like mine where like I can be as playful as I want and not worry about making money off of any of these like hobbies that I have because I have a safety net. But for some people, I know that is actually a lot more dire, which is why I think this chapter is very sensitive and hard to talk about because the reality is there are bills to pay. If that's all on you, it's a lot harder to invest that into your creativity. So, however, I do think the point is not to wait, to find ways to pursue art and creativity, even if it's small at first, even if it's on the edges of everything else that you need to do to get by. If you're like me, then making time for creativity in your lifestyle is incredibly important for your mental health and a sense of purpose and meaning, and yeah, it can be life-saving in some ways. I'm just a big advocate for all of us making creativity a part of our lives and in whatever capacity we can. I'm feeling a lot more empowered to harness the time and the energy that I have now because I don't know when my life is going to change again. And with that, I want to talk about what else I'm going to be doing this week besides studying The Artist's Way. Last time I vlogged, I talked about challenging myself to write a short story for a competition and submitting it at the end of August. The competition deadline is purely a constraint to give me a deadline to complete and polish a piece of writing. Yeah, in the spirit of The Artist's Way, I am going to do this thing and be a bad artist and, I don't know, have some audacity, I guess. Hi, it's Sunday. Oh my goodness, I've had such a busy week, so I haven't had time to record a little check in. But because it's been busy, I got a lot of good stuff done. It's been a really um, big, productive week. I got my best books of the year so far video out this week. And then I also did stuff for a podcast. I started a podcast with my friend Katie. If you didn't know about that, it's called What About Bobs? And we just watch movies together and talk about them and wear wigs, and I don't know, it's really cute. Anyway, we had a lot of work to do for that this week. So, to catch you up on writing, I did make time to work on the short story this week. The biggest progress I've made is doing a reverse outline to restructure the story, basically. I've been studying Tori Peters' collection, Stag Dance. I read that recently and thought it was stunning, and I thought it was so brilliant, the way she structured all of the stories in that collection, which I think technically they might be novellas, but in any case, I've been referencing especially the first story in that collection for story structure because I think it was so good. But regardless, the whole collection is just a really fun read. I'm feeling a little behind. I'm feeling a little overwhelmed with the short story challenge that I've given myself. But I think next week I can start doing the next version, the next draft of it, with this restructuring and this more clarity around the plot and like the story structure. And yeah, when I haven't been like actually sitting down to write, I've been thinking about it and also thinking about the characters. I've been like literally writing and also thinking about the writing and everything. So that feels good. And to round out this very busy week, I have been taking the advice from the second half of this week's chapter in The Artist's Way. And that part of the chapter is all about luxury and self care and pampering. And so that's what I'm trying to do this weekend and step away from the hard work and recharge for next week. So, yesterday, of course, we have like Saturday is our big chores day. I do laundry and Jaden cleans the apartment. But afterwards, I got some nice wine, really good bread for dinner, made like a really nice dinner. And then I made myself a nice bath and read my book. I love reading my book in the bath, and I love good food and good wine. So I had a very luxurious evening and night last night. And then today, I'm taking myself on my artist date for the week. I'm going to go up to the Morgan Library Museum, which is in Manhattan, and check that out this afternoon. So I've been before, but they have a new exhibit on right now that I wanted to go see. It's about tarot, and like the history of it. So like its origins in Renaissance Italy, all the way up to how tarot is used now and cultural reference points we have for it. So I think that should be really fun. I'm really excited to see what they have on display for it. The last time I was at the Morgan Library, the exhibits they had were really well done, really well curated. So I think this should be awesome, but I need to get going so that I don't feel rushed. So I'm going to head out to do that, and then I will catch up with you at the end of the week when everything's over so that I can talk to you more about my thoughts and reflections on how this week has gone. I actually have a lot of thoughts, and so I'll catch you up soon. All right, let's check in. Morning pages. I was able to do them every day this week, and I still love them. I still think they're such a great thing to do first thing in the morning. They ground me, center me, and I feel like they set me up to have a better day. Artist date. I did go on my artist date, and it was wonderful. I had so much fun. I love going to a museum. I think that exhibit was excellent. And if you're in New York or if you're visiting in the next few months, I would definitely highly recommend checking out that tarot exhibit. It's really, really cool. Very fascinating, really well done. But now let's talk about my reflections on the theme for the week, which was recovering a sense of abundance. I think I spoke earlier in the week about finding it difficult to discuss the topic. Even after reading the chapter, my initial reaction to it was a little bit resistant, and I found it uncomfortable. I really spent the week considering why I was feeling so uncomfortable with this theme and discussing it. And I did use my morning pages to kind of think through it and talk to myself about why I was finding it so difficult this week. What was difficult was not the second part of the chapter, which is about luxury. You need self-care, you need to make time to pamper yourself, treat yourself. That I can get down with. That was not difficult. It was the first half of the chapter, which is about abundance and specifically more about money. And I do think money is something that a lot of people wish they had more of or wait to have more of until they start a hobby or an artistic practice or being more creative. But I do think abundance can also mean other things beyond just money. And I'll talk to that a little bit more as I go through. But I've concluded that there are two things that have made this chapter difficult for me. The first difficult thing was realizing that I do block my creativity by thinking I have to wait for something more in my life. The abundance that I'm waiting for has changed, but the fact is I do wait because I don't think I have what I need, or I don't think I am enough yet. The second thing that was difficult was realizing that I still value a life of struggle. Upon rereading the chapter, I felt seen in this quote right here where she says, "Many of us equate difficulty with virtue and art with fooling around. Hard work is good. A terrible job must be building our moral fiber." Yeah. I certainly saw myself in that, and I think realizing those two aspects of myself have made me feel a lot of discomfort and a lot of shame this week because I find both of those qualities about myself pretty negative. And so I think that overall has made this week feel difficult and feel very vulnerable to talk about. But yeah, let me talk through a little bit of my journey so you have a little more context around my own personal attachment to struggle and also the different things I've been waiting for and why I think that's holding me back. I've talked previously about leaving my former career path as an interior designer and due to primarily burnout. One of the things that led to that burnout was me identifying very much with the struggle, with the difficulty. Initially, it was great and I loved the career path I was on. It was my dream job. But then eventually things changed as they do, and I was no longer as happy doing it as I thought I would be, and it was getting less and less sustainable for my mental health. I am very sensitive. I am very, very anxious, and certain aspects of the job and some of the work environments I was in did not mesh well with what I call my personal brand of anxiety. It just was becoming really unsustainable for me. Instead of creating more distance between my job and creating more space for myself, I think I just clutched harder to the work, and I thought if I worked harder, maybe things would get better. Obviously, that's not how things work, and I shouldn't have done that, but I'm trying to show compassion to myself. what I was doing at the time was surviving. I ended up clinging harder to the job and clinging to this identity of I work so hard, my job is so miserable, but it is what it is, and I'm always working. I'm just working all the time and I'm thinking about it all the time. And I built up a sense of pride in that. I like genuinely have an ego around how hard I worked at that time. And again, that was me surviving. I still say I have an ego around that because I don't think I've completely let go of that. Um, as you'll see, it's part of what I was realizing this week. So that being said, even though I had all this pride in how hard I worked and I felt so virtuous in the struggle, in the difficulty of my job, at the same time, it was making me miserable. And I knew it wasn't good and I knew it wasn't sustainable, but I didn't know what else to do. And of course, I started this channel. I did a few things in trying to um, give myself outlets that, helped me decompress and do things that weren't work. But I didn't take any of those things too seriously. Again, returning to this quote, I definitely equated my difficult, hard work as being good and virtuous, and art and my creative projects as fooling around or less serious or not real. Like, I think I've used that term. This stuff isn't real. Whereas the effort I was putting into my job, that was real. And yet, I dreamed of having an abundance of time and energy. And that's kind of what I mean when I say that I think abundance can mean more than just money. At that time, all I really wanted was more freedom and energy to do what I wanted to do and to create for myself. And then my lovely husband saw this happening, saw me becoming this shell of myself, and asked me, like, why do you keep doing this? Or why don't you quit? And my excuses were usually around, like, well, I'm making money now. I'd gone to school for this. I worked so hard. I'd reached some of the top echelons of the goals that I wanted to achieve. And I just felt like so like I don't know what else to do. Like, I literally don't know what else to do. This is all I've been working towards. I truly wouldn't have quit. Um, I don't think if it wasn't for him. I didn't know I'd become so emotional. Okay. I don't think, one, I would have started this channel if it wasn't for him encouraging me to do it. And I wouldn't have quit that job as soon as I did if he hadn't made it possible. So I owe so much of the abundance that I have right now to him. And yeah, thank you, Jaden. He was in a place where he could offer to take on the full financial responsibility for us so that I could quit without knowing what I was going to do next and not having to have a job set up or a new career path lined up. And now I have this abundance of time and energy, and I don't always feel deserving of it. And I feel very guilty a lot that I'm not working and that I couldn't do that job. And I know that is keeping me from appreciating the abundance that I have right now. And that's why this week has been so difficult, because I have to confront that, right? And this isn't the first time I've confronted it. This has been something I've been struggling with since I quit the job. Valuing struggle and feeling virtuous in the hard work has come back to haunt me, because I'm not having to do that right now. I have my needs taken care of that don't require me to do the job that was making me so miserable. And I think I'm uncomfortable with that. I am uncomfortable that I can just play and I can make videos and I can write and it doesn't have to support my livelihood and it can be fun. But again, I have a hard time seeing things that bring me joy as something real and valuable because I spent so long valuing working under miserable circumstances. Yeah. So a lot of shame has come up in reflecting this week. And as I said before, this abundance that I have been waiting for has changed over time. Back then, I was wanting more time and more energy. And now I have those things, but I want to feel more deserving and I want to feel better. And if I'm to take the advice of the Artist's Way, it is to not wait until I feel better or feel deserving. I'll probably never feel deserving of this gift of time that I have right now. And I don't deserve it, right? And I do think there are people way more deserving than I am. But the fact is, I have this amazing gift of abundance and I don't want to waste it. I don't want to keep waiting until I feel better about it. That is what I've come to terms with this week. I also don't want to be too hard on myself because I have been, this isn't the first time I've struggled with this. Like, this has been a constant struggle. Me wanting to, do so much and be so creative and also feeling guilty. That looks like having really great productive days and then feeling like, oh, but I just did stuff that doesn't mean anything. It also looks like days where I feel like I can't do anything creative at all and I feel bad that I wasted it by not doing anything productive. So none of that is good. And it's not like I'm magically cured of all of these feelings just by doing the Artist's Way this week. But I think this week has done a lot in shifting my mindset around how much I value struggling and why don't I value the creative work I'm doing right now. And of course, I have guilt around the fact that I do have this privilege and not everyone can quit their job and just fully embrace their creative style, which again perpetuates this guilt of I should be using my time more wisely. All of this. A lot came up this week. I think it plays well with some of the advice that was given in week 3, I believe, the week all about gaining a sense of power. And my big takeaway from that week was stop waiting, just take action. Things come with action. But I think this week adds the additional nuance of questioning why you might be waiting to take action. You might be waiting for more money. You might be waiting for more time and energy or freedom, or you might be waiting for more skill or confidence or community. Ask yourself, what am I waiting for? What do I think I need more of? What's holding me back from beginning? So what I'm taking away from this week and what I hope to leave with those of you who are watching is this. Stop waiting for abundance and don't forget about the abundance you already have. That's it. I gotta stop talking. Thank you so much for watching. Leave me a like if you enjoyed this video. Subscribe if you want more of this and bookish related content. I hope you have a good week. I hope you're having a good summer, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.